Hi everyone, this is Adam Virgil. Welcome back to this series where we've done a lot of stuff with dates. And as promised, we're going to turn this into a cool looking dashboard. So to start, because all this stuff is on the same page, which again, I need to reiterate is not a good framework, we're going to hide everything here. So this calculation is the maximum date for the athlete that we select. We don't need it. It'll just automatically be calculated based on the data that we collect. Uh, so hopefully your data collection is somewhere else, not on the same page as this dashboard. But in any case, we're going to hide all these columns and start from here. And what we're going to do with our data columns is we're just going to pretty much go over them and color them in with white so that we can't see them. But I'm not going to do that yet. So I'm going to undo that because first we need to organize this. And one thing that we cannot have happen is this data can't get screwed up or we can't overwrite it. If we do, our graphs and everything will break. So I'm going to highlight all the data that we currently have. And I would like to move it, but maybe I'll just add some rows above it. So let's insert some rows just to make sure that we have enough room to do what we need to do here. So I'm just inserting rows. And this header row here, first I'm going to select column F and go all the way through, I don't know, column U or so, and resize these columns to be like 80 in width. Okay, that's pretty good. Maybe I'll even go further. I'll go further and I'll resize these columns to be all the way through W to be 80 in width. Now I'm going to highlight column F through column, I don't know, column V maybe, and we'll just merge those together. And I don't know, I'll call this. I'll probably change the name of this, but the only thing I can think of right now is managing dates dashboard because that's how this thing started. It's kind of about using dates to manipulate things. And I'll just center it vertically, align it. We'll deal with the coloring of it later. I added this in at row 2, and what I want to do here is I actually want to delete these cells. So I'll delete the cells with the stuff in them and shift left, just because I don't want any contents in these cells. And I'll make the row height, resize row to height 10, be small. In this row, we'll resize it to be 50 is kind of big, maybe 35 or so. For now, you can always change it. And the next step is I'm going to move all this stuff that we have, all these selectors, all just onto the same row. That's kind of the way that I like to do things if I can, where I have all these selectors and then the stuff is underneath. And then maybe I'll make row 3. Let's resize it to 35, the same as the header. Maybe I'll make the header a little bit bigger. And the one beneath it, row 4, resize it to 10. This is the way that I like to do things so that the selectors are segregated from the header and the content, and then just by a little bit of space. And I'll move all this stuff over because I probably want the athlete's name. Select column cell G3, which is where the athlete's name is, and move over to H and merge and center. So I want that to take up 2 cells. Then in column J, I might say start date. Oh, we already have it, so I'll want the start date to be here. Just drag it over. I'll drag these number of days over. Drag the start date over where it needs to go. This is important. You need to drag it. Copying and pasting will break everything. So, and then maybe in column L, I'll say 2. And then this is our end date, which is a formula. So we're not actually selecting it. So I'm not going to make it colored because we're not actually selecting it. It's just there. It's based on what we do over here. We select a start date and then we choose whether we want to use a custom date or just use the automated athlete end date. So I'm going to remove end date, maybe move this over a little bit. And then after this, I want to have the custom end date selector. So I'm going to move this number over, which is the number of days between these two dates. And we'll move, I'll say select custom end date, maybe optional. I'll say OPT. And again, I'll probably merge those two things together. I'll move the check after the date, and then I'll highlight them both and we can move them closer here. And this might say days to show, or something like that. Okay, that's okay for now. And then I'm going to select row 3, and we can go to Format, Text Wrapping, and wrap the text so that it doesn't overflow. And maybe we horizontally align and vertically align everything. And now this column L, I'm going to make a little bit smaller. So I'm going to make it resize the column to about, let's say, 40 or so, because all we have is that word 2 in there. And actually, I'm not even going to have this opt makes it look weird. So I'll say select custom end date. And there's the check. Okay. Now let's deal with the graphs or the charts. So we're all set. We have our framework built. So I'm going to make all this text. I'm going to make it white, and probably should do it all the way down to the bottom because we could have more data in here. So I'll make it all white so that it doesn't show up. Because if we place our charts on top of the data, it won't affect anything. It won't change the data. So here's this fatigue chart. Move it over here. This one over here. And we'll have the scorecards kind of over here. We just have to remember what they are. Okay. Now I'll give a little header here. So I'm going to select F through K, which are 6 columns. And I'll use this L as kind of a breakpoint because I want to put headers over these charts. So I'm going to select all these cells, F through K, 5, and merge them. And maybe I'll call this fatigue, athlete versus team fatigue over time. And then I'll just copy what I've done here and paste it in column M and just change athlete versus team. This is training load over time. Enter. And now I'll want the charts to take up the space of these 6 columns and no more. So let's bring that in a little bit. And this one looks okay, except now let's make these boxes a little bit smaller so that they're the same size and they fit in here. And honestly, if we didn't want to do anything else, this is pretty good. But I do want to do some other stuff. So the way that I typically operate from a color standpoint is I'll pick like a professional sports team because they generally have pretty good color coordinators, and then I'll use those colors in the dashboard. So I went and I found colors for an NBA team, and I'm going to use those in this design. So those colors are these 3 right down here, blue, gray, and like kind of a blackish dark blue color. So I'm going to use those colors when I design this. I'll make the fill color here dark blue, and maybe the font color white, and the text of the whole document, which I'm going to click right above the 1 and to the left of F to select all the cells in here. Instead of Roboto, I'm going to make it this Varela round color. Or font, sorry, not color. And now I'll make this font size, let's say 18. Okay. And I want all my selectors to be the same color, so I might select this, hold down the control key for me, select this yellow one, and then select the custom end date, select the checkbox, and select days to show. And I'll make the selector maybe that blue color and the font color white. And for the athlete, the start date the custom end date and days to show, maybe just to, because these are headers for what's going on, I might make them that gray color and put boxes around these things so that it's clear that they're contained in their own spaces. So this days to show, I highlighted the two cells. I'll put a border around it, and I want the border color to be that third color from the team, and make the thickness maybe a little bit bigger. And now I'll apply that formatting to these other areas. So I'll highlight select custom end date through the checkbox, put the border around it, do the same thing with the start date to this other date, and put a border around it. Do the same thing with the athlete, put a border around it. And then I'll select column 3 in its entirety and bold everything. And these dates, I'm not sure that I actually need the year. So to format the dates, I'm going to select 12/1/2020, hold down Control key, select 12/15, select the other 12/15, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Format, Number, and at the bottom, you can't see it because my face is in the way, it says More Formats, and you can do more date and time formats. I'm going to select that. And I want the date to look like this with just the month year. Or maybe I want a short year instead of the whole 2020. So what I can do here, instead of having the year be 4 digits, if I select a year up here, I might want it to be a 2-digit year to make it shorter, and click Apply. And now we have just a 2-digit year. Now these two things, maybe I'll make the size of this row a little bit bigger since it's a header row. Let's also make it 35. And horizontally align, vertically align, bold. I might make the font even bigger. Maybe it's like 14. And for these two headers, I'll highlight them both. Make the fill color this third color that we have. And the text, maybe that gray. And now we're starting to get somewhere. And now we'll edit the charts. So this first chart, I like the series, like in other words, the way that they are. We'll change the series of this second chart to do something different. Even though that might not be best practice all the time, it's more for exposure and for tutorial learning things. So let's edit this chart that we have up here. And there are a couple things that I want to do. The first is that I know that this range goes from 0 to 10 for both of my metrics. I'm going to make it 0 to 12 because sometimes things get cut off at the top when you have the axis range top out with your maximum value range. So I like to go a little bit above that. So to do that, we'll go to Customize, Vertical Axis, and we'll have the minimum value be 0 and the maximum value be 12. And then if we click on Series, we can edit what the series look like. So instead of Apply to All Series, I'll select the first one, which is Fatigue, and I'll change the color to be that blue color that we have, and I'll select Team Fatigue, and we can make this maybe that dark color, that darkish black blue color. Great. Now what I might do also, just because this stuff is kind of bold, is I might make this axis the colors of the labels, that, if I can get to it, that gray, make it nice and light gray. And I want to remove these grid lines, so I don't want any major grid lines to show up. All right, now we'll move on to our second chart. And in our second chart, I might want this to be 2 lines instead. Let's say I want to do that. We can keep it a combo chart, and we'll edit the chart, go to Customize, go to Series, and we'll select our first metric, which is TL, which is our athlete's training load value. Instead of columns, we could have it be a line. And on this line, maybe I'll put some points. So maybe we'll have 7-point size. That's a little bit big. We'll have 2-point size points. Can't really see them though, so I'll just keep 7 for now. And that may get a little bit convoluted if you have a large date range. That's my only concern. The color, we'll make that blue to keep consistent. The athletes' values are in blue. The team values will be in that dark color. And we'll do the same thing that we did with the axis here after we finish manipulating the team TL series. So we're done with the TL series. If we go to team TL, we can change the type to be a line. We can change the color to be that dark color. And we can add some points. Maybe we'll make it 2-point size. And I'm actually going to go back and make it 2-point size for the original one because 7 is too big. Now if we go to our vertical axis, we can do what we did before where we make the minimum 0 and the maximum 12 so that it doesn't get cut off at the top. And I also want to get rid of these grid lines again. So I don't want any major grid lines. And maybe the color of this axis. I clicked on the axis. I'll make the text color that. And you know what? I actually kind of wanted a little bit of a darker gray. So maybe it's that gray. And then I'll change this axis too to be that gray. What I do want though is I want major ticks on the bottom because I want to be able to see which point associates with each date. And I don't know how I feel about the color of these ticks. So maybe we'll make the color make the ticks small, and I guess I'll just keep the color the same. It'll be that black color or that dark blue color. Okay. Now I wonder, I'm going to go to edit chart, customize chart style, and the last thing that I want to do with these lines is I want them to be smooth. I don't want them to be so rigid. So click smooth, and now they're like ebbs and flows. And I don't really like the way that looks, so I'm gonna change this back into a column chart. And we'll leave this as a line, even though I probably, if it were me, I might just do the stepped area thing again. But I'll leave it as a line for now so that it's something a little bit different. And maybe I'll actually make the points on this line now, since there's only one line, I'll make the points a little bit bigger. You can see the points. That gives us two different charts. And again, I don't advise having two different charts. Consistency is always good. And now we'll edit each chart and go to customize, chart style, and remove the borders. That's what I like, at least. I don't like borders on my charts. So we'll edit each chart, go to customize, and in the chart style area, you can make the border color none. I've done that now in each of them. And I think that this is looking pretty good. The last part of this is these tiles. So to format these tiles, first we got to figure out which one is which, because I already got confused. And I'll edit this first tile. Let's edit this first chart. P10, P11. That's not good. So I'm going to have to move this and just figure out what P10 and P11 are. And that was a mistake on my end, so I'm just going to highlight where this area is. And so the first chart is fatigue. And I'm just going to Control Z to go back to what I did. And now I know that this is fatigue, so we can edit the chart. And in the customize, for the chart axis and titles, I might call this fatigue change. I'll put maybe a % sign in brackets. And go back, edit the chart, customize. And if we go to our chart style, again, I'm going to remove the border, and maybe I'll make the background color that dark color that we have as our headers. And for the key value, I might want the font color to be that light gray that we have. And for our baseline value, we can choose, well, this color doesn't matter because this color relates to the description. If you're going to give a description on the bottom, I don't like using the descriptions. But for positive color, if fatigue is high, maybe I want it to be this gray. If fatigue is, or if there's an increase in fatigue, maybe I want it to be gray. If it's a decrease, maybe I want it to be this blue. And maybe I also want that, I double clicked on the chart, go to chart and access titles. Maybe I want the title color to also to be like a darker gray, but not like super dark, so I can kind of see it. That's pretty good. And I'll do the same thing with this chart. It'll be exactly the same, except maybe we'll invert which colors are positive and negative. So I'll edit it, edit the chart, customize, and we can go to chart access and titles, and the title text might be TL change per percent. And we can go to the, I'll change the title color to be that same kind of gray color. And we go to baseline values. We'll make the positive color a blue and a negative color a gray, just to do the opposite, to give different colors. And again, this is not necessarily the way that I would do it. It's just creating different colors. And for the key values, we don't have to do anything. For the chart style, I'll remove the border, chart border, and make the background color that dark blue blackish color, and get out of there. Oh, the last thing that I'll need to do, I did have to do something. We'll change the color of the TL change number, which is the key value. So customize the key value, and the font color will be that light gray that we have. And there we have it. Actually, I'm gonna keep the colors the same as for where the baseline value, the positive color is gray, negative color is blue, just to be consistent. Okay, so here we go. Now if we minimize this, because this is the way that we might be looking at our dashboard, we could maybe make these charts a little bit bigger, and we could probably make these slightly bigger also if we wanted to. Okay, and yeah, this is actually a little bit too big for me. I can't handle these numbers. They're way too big. Okay, perfect. And if you don't want to see the grid lines, if you open up the top bar and you go to view and you uncheck grid lines, then there won't be any grid lines on the page. And now that I look at this, I might want these to be gray also. Oh, light gray. Okay, and this is our dashboard. Let's see if it works. It should. So if we select a different athlete, we should see the data change for that athlete. If we select a different start date, which we can do by well, we're not selecting a different start date, but we could. So actually maybe this is also gray and this is black. I forgot that we're not selecting a start date. So if we decide to enter in our custom date, which we have, it'll do that. If we uncheck this box, it'll look at the most recent date in the data set for the athlete and subtract this number of days to view this information. If we wanted to just see the past 7 days, for example, all of our stuff would change. So this would mean that over the past 7 days, the average fatigue for this athlete was 3.5, which is 50% lower than it was for the 7 days prior. And if we wanted to view more days, we can say, maybe the past 21 days we want to look at. This is a 0% change. I probably should have colored that, and maybe I'll do it right now. Maybe that's what this font color is. Maybe I'll just make it gray. There you go. And again, if we wanted to enter a different start date, 12/25/2020, and check that, then that's what the date range will be that we see. Okay, well, I hope that this tutorial was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, share it with other people. If not, I apologize. Please let me know what I can do better. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in another video.